This is a book ball summary of the book The Practice by Seth Godin. There is no set method for achieving your artistic goals, but that doesn't imply that creative success is dependent on luck. Many people who flourish in the creative arts follow similar procedures, practices, and attitudes. So what prevents you from joining their ranks? Nothing. Creativity is a skill that can be learned and honed. If you are provided with tips and techniques to support your creative practice, you'll be able to transform your creative ideas into polished professional work that is ready to be shared with the world. Number 1. Trust yourself to find your own path to a creative practice. Never tell yourself, I can't be creative. You have the ability to be creative and to develop your underdeveloped creative talent into a profession. But be prepared. Navigating the path to becoming a recognised creative professional can be challenging. There isn't a set path to becoming a successful professional creative. Therefore, how can you discover your creative path? Your process determines your path. Your route will become clear if you have faith in your process. In the world we live in, results are valued over procedures. To discover your creative self, focus on your creative process, which will naturally be unique from everyone else's. You'll find your route by having faith in your unique process without placing too much emphasis on the results. Of course, trusting the process might be challenging. But here's the good news. Your feelings don't matter, your actions do. Have trust in your abilities and your process. Sometimes, your process will produce a good result, and sometimes it won't. But each time you recommit to it, you recommit to realising your creative potential. Number 2. Your creativity is abundant and necessary, so be generous with it. A creative professional creates for an audience, as opposed to many other creatives who create for the pleasure of creating. Get used to sharing your work if you wish to work as a creative professional. What's preventing you from sharing your work? There are several reasons why you might not want to share your work, which include perfectionism or embarrassment. Maybe you have a scarcity mindset. You hoard ideas and insights out of concern that they won't be replaced after they're used. But that's unlikely to happen. The more you interact with others, the more inspiration you'll get. It's also possible that you're reluctant to share because you feel like you're selling out if you do. However, thinking this way confuses art with industry. Making your work available on the market is what makes it accessible and gets you feedback, which is key for improving your work. If you don't generously share your work won't serve its intended purpose, and you won't reach your potential as a creative professional. Number 3. Build on your creativity to forge a successful career. If you've decided to be a creative professional, your art is your work. You must treat your creative practice like a career, even though it may not be your job or the gig that pays your expenses. The following tips will assist you in approaching your creative work as a job. First, determine your hour. Commit to working for an hour each day. Get up early or stay up late if you have to. The simple act of devoting time to your creative work will pay off. Secondly, get paid. Giving your work away for free is not a sign that you love what you do. Demanding payment demonstrates your worth as a creative professional. Likewise, receiving payments allows you to develop your practice financially by buying new tools or commissioning a website. Lastly, find better clients. The best clients are those who demand big ideas and high levels of creativity because these are the ones who hire the best artists. Number 4. Your artistic intent shapes your output, so make sure it's clear. If you have ever planned a creative work, you must have noticed that the outcome always differs in some way from the original plan. In fact, working creatively can be so unpredictable that some people decide not to plan at all. If you want to create professionally, your work must be supported by intention. Whether you're improvising or working according to a blueprint, you need to establish the purpose of your work before you start working. Work that doesn't achieve its purpose is a failure. So how would you define yours? First, ask yourself, who am I trying to reach with this work? You might be tempted to answer, everyone. But your work won't be for everyone. So, push yourself. Who is your ideal reader, viewer, or user? It pays to be specific. Because if you target your work well, it will reach far beyond your intended audience. Now, ask yourself, what is this work for? Once you've settled on the function of your work, whether to entertain, educate, or provoke a certain emotional reaction, you can start creating work that fulfills that function. The first step is asking yourself, who am I trying to reach with this work? You might be tempted to say everyone, but your work won't be for everyone. So ask yourself, who is your ideal reader, viewer, or user? Being specific is important, because if you aim your work well, it will reach far beyond your intended audience. Now ask yourself, what is the purpose of this work? Once you've decided on the purpose of your work, whether it's to entertain, educate, or provoke a certain emotional response, then you can start creating work that serves that purpose. Number 5, creative blocks won't happen if you don't aim for perfection. You're likely to experience the dreaded creative block at some point during your artistic career. You'll doubt if you'll ever come up with another great idea. The creative block is nothing but a cultural construct. It doesn't really exist. Despite not actually existing, creativity blocks can seem to be common. Why? In one word, perfectionism. It's hard to start work when, in your mind, the outcome needs to be flawless. It's also hard to finish your work when you don't settle for less than perfection. Standards are very great. Setting high standards allows you to take pride in your work. But don't aim for perfection. When you let go of perfectionism and permit yourself to be messy and real, it's more likely your immovable creative block will disintegrate. Number 6, embrace criticism, but only within limits. To be a creative professional, you must deliver your work to an audience. There are more ways to share your creative work since the internet has democratized creativity. Once your work has been delivered, things can get more challenging. You might receive feedback from the audience after you've published your work. So, how do you respond to criticism? Well, you could try and embrace it. If you're lucky, you may receive feedback from a nice critic. Someone who takes time to analyse your work and point out the aspects that aren't working for them. You should certainly thank them for their thoughtful responses to your work. Sometimes, your critics won't be kind or understanding. You should avoid trolls and those who are wildly outside your intended audience. But just because feedback isn't considered doesn't mean it can't be helpful. Being criticised hurts. Therefore, commit to learning from the criticism you receive, and you'll grow as a creative. Number 7, you can optimise your chances of achieving greatness. Some creatives find fulfilment in distributing their work to a small audience. They aspire to be at the top of their field, not just to do well. Contrary to common conception, achieving the highest levels of creative achievement is possible without being an exceptionally talented genius. You can get to the top with commitment and a little bit of planning. Greatness is never guaranteed, but if you're aiming for creative greatness, there are some techniques that might help you during the process. First, identify your cohort. Avoid working alone. When you meet with other creatives, you inspire one another and create greater groundbreaking work. So, start searching for your cohort. Secondly, devote yourself towards using your superpower skill. That's the thing you do best that distinguishes you from the crowd. Concentrating on your superpower skill might mean neglecting other aspects of your work, and that's fine. It all comes down to identifying your niche and excelling there. Lastly, do the reading. Read important textbooks, keep up with the essential blogs and podcasts, and brush up on the most important practitioners. To perform at your peak, you need to put in the effort. Number 8. Creativity thrives under constraints, so embrace them. Let's take a look at the well-known alt-rock band R.E.M. They released an album named Out of Time. It was a massive hit that remained on the charts for 2 years and propelled the band from indie fame to superstardom. What was the secret component behind the album's massive success? It wasn't more creative freedom or more resources. On the contrary, the band embraced restrictions and limitations. R.E.M. purposely chose to work under constraints while recording the album. In the end, the band was able to create its groundbreaking work by making things harder rather than easier. Smart creatives accept external constraints. So, when you're faced with limitations, think like R.E.M. Don't give in to the urge to request a bigger budget or more time. Embrace constraints. Your creative practice will expand. Your creativity will flourish, and the creative career you've been dreaming of will get much closer to reality. What's your most important key takeaway? Please comment down below and share the video if you like it. Check out these other videos. Thank you, and until next time.